You look around and it hits you. Nobody's coming to save you. Your family doesn't understand what you're trying to build. Your friends smile, but you can feel it. They don't really believe in you. Maybe a boss overlooked you, a partner dismissed your dreams, or the people closest to you went quiet right when you needed them to speak up. And the worst part, you started to wonder if they were right. You started shrinking, playing smaller, telling yourself maybe you were being unrealistic, maybe you should just settle, maybe wanting more was the problem all along. But something in you won't die. There's a voice underneath all that doubt, quiet but stubborn, that keeps whispering, this isn't where your story ends. If that's where you are right now, stay here. Because what Carl Jung understood about the human psyche over 100 years ago explains not only why you feel so alone on this path, but why that aloneness might be the very thing that's preparing you to rise. Today I'm going to walk you through what Jung actually taught about isolation, resistance, and transformation, and why the people who change their lives most deeply almost always have to walk alone first. Not because the world is cruel, but because something inside them has already outgrown the room they were standing in. So, if you've been wondering whether you're broken for feeling unsupported, take a breath. By the end of this, you might realize that everything you've been going through has been shaping you into exactly who you need to become. And before we continue, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. And tell me in the comments, have you ever felt completely alone in something you believed in? I really want to hear your story. Let's start with something that might sting a little, but it needs to be said. Sometimes people don't support you, not because you're wrong, but because you're wrong, but because your growth makes them uncomfortable. Your ambition holds up a mirror they didn't ask for. Your desire to change quietly confronts their decision to stay the same. And rather than face that discomfort, they dismiss you. They minimize what you're doing. They change the subject. They go silent. Jung had a term for this. He called it the shadow. The shadow is everything a person has rejected about themselves, their unfulfilled desires, their buried potential, their abandoned dreams. And when someone around them begins to pursue exactly those things, it activates that shadow. Not consciously. They don't sit there thinking, I'm jealous, so I'm going to withhold support. It's deeper than that. It lives beneath awareness. It shows up as eye rolls, sarcasm, subtle discouragement, or just a strange coldness they can't explain. So here's the truth that will set you free. Their lack of support is not a verdict on your worth. It's a reflection of their unresolved relationship with themselves. You are not being rejected. You are being projected upon. And once you truly understand that, something shifts inside you. You stop performing for approval. You stop shrinking to keep other people comfortable. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission to become who you already are. Jung put it this way: everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. And the reverse is also true. Everything about you that irritates them can tell you something about what they haven't yet faced. That's not your burden to carry. That's theirs. Now, here's where it gets deeper. When you feel unsupported, your first instinct is probably to look outward, to ask what's wrong with these people. Why won't anyone back me up? Why am I always the one standing alone? But Jung would tell you to look inward first, because the outside world, the resistance you're facing, the silence, the doubt, is often a mirror of something happening inside your own psyche. Jung called it projection, and it works both ways. Just as others project their shadow onto you, you may also be projecting your need for validation onto people who were never meant to carry it. Think about that for a moment. Maybe you keep looking for encouragement from a parent who has never been able to give it. Maybe you keep hoping a friend will suddenly understand your vision when they've never been on a similar path. Maybe you keep waiting for the world to tell you it's okay to begin, when the only person who needs to say that is you. This is painful to hear, but it's also liberating, because it means the answer was never outside of you. It was always within. Jung believed that every person carries within them an inner guide, what he called the self, the deepest, most complete version of who you are. And this self doesn't need external approval. It doesn't need applause. It only needs you to listen and to trust and to keep going even when no one else understands why. So the question isn't, why isn't anyone on my side? The real question is, am I on my own side? Because until you answer that, no amount of external support will ever feel like enough. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that the moment you decide to change, the moment you commit to something real, the world seems to push back harder than ever? You decide to start a business and suddenly everyone has an opinion about why it won't work. You decide to leave a relationship that's draining you, and people call you selfish. You set a boundary, and the people who benefited from your lack of boundaries get angry. Jung would not have been surprised by any of this. He understood that growth provokes resistance, not just from others, but from within you as well. He called this the tension of opposites. Inside every human being, there's a pull between who you've been and who you're becoming. The old self wants to keep you safe. It knows the rules, the patterns, the familiar pain. The emerging self wants to break free. And these two forces are constantly at war. And the world around you reflects that war. The people who resist your growth are often echoing the part of you that is also afraid to grow. The doubt you hear from others is the same doubt whispering in your own mind at 3 a.m. But here's what Jung also taught. That tension is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're doing something real. Transformation doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the fire between who you were and who you're becoming. And you are supposed to feel the heat. You're supposed to feel the resistance, because that friction is what shapes you. Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. And the pain you're feeling right now, the loneliness, the doubt, the frustration of moving forward with no one cheering you on, that is the pain of becoming conscious, of waking up to your own life, and it is worth every difficult moment. Now I want to talk about something most people won't tell you, and it might change the way you see everything you've been through. There is a stage in psychological growth where isolation isn't just something that happens to you, it's something your soul actually requires. Jung called it the night sea journey. It comes from ancient mythology, the image of the hero being swallowed by a great whale or sea monster, descending into complete darkness and emerging transformed on the other side. This is not a metaphor for punishment. It's a metaphor for initiation. Think about where you are right now. Maybe you feel like you're in the belly of something you can't name. Everything is dark. The people you thought would be there are gone or distant. You can't see what's ahead. And every voice around you, including sometimes your own, is telling you to turn back. But Jung understood something about this stage that changes everything. The darkness is not the enemy. The darkness is the workshop. It's where the most important parts of you are being built. Your resilience, your self-trust, your ability to stand in your own truth without needing anyone else to confirm it. Every great transformation in human history, in mythology, in personal development follows this same pattern. Withdrawal, darkness, silence, and then rebirth. You don't get the rebirth without the descent. You don't get the wings without the cocoon, and you don't become who you're meant to be by staying where it's comfortable and well lit and full of people patting you on the back. So, if you're in the dark right now, if you feel swallowed whole by your circumstances, hear this: you are not lost. You are in the forge. And what is being shaped in you right now is something the surface world could never have given you. Let's talk about something practical. Because understanding Jungian psychology is powerful, but you also need to know how to actually survive and move forward when no one is on your side. The first thing you need to understand is this: you must become your own source of validation, not as a motivational slogan, but as a real daily practice. Jung would say this is the process of building a relationship with the self, the part of you that exists beneath the ego, beneath the insecurity, beneath the need to be liked or approved of. And how do you do that? You pay attention to what keeps showing up in your life, the dream that won't go away, the idea that keeps nagging at you even when you try to ignore it, the quiet knowing in your chest that says this is your path, even when your mind is screaming 100 reasons why it isn't. Jung believed that the unconscious communicates constantly, through dreams, through feelings, through strange coincidences that seem too specific to be random, through that pull you feel towards something you can't fully explain. And when you start paying attention to these signals instead of looking to others for direction, something remarkable happens. You begin to trust yourself, not in an arrogant way, but in a grounded, quiet, unshakable way. The kind of trust that doesn't need an audience, and from that trust, action becomes different. You stop moving from desperation and start moving from alignment. You stop doing things to prove people wrong and start doing things because they feel true. And when you operate from that place, the right people, the right opportunities, the right doors begin to appear. Not because of magic, but because you finally aligned your outer life with what was always alive inside you. Now let's go deeper still. Because there's an archetype here that I think you need to meet. Jung studied archetypes, universal patterns that live in the collective unconscious of every human being. And one of the most powerful archetypes for anyone walking a lonely road is the archetype of the orphan. Not the orphan in the literal sense, but the psychological orphan, the one who feels abandoned by the tribe, cut off from the support system, left to fend for themselves. Most people see this as a tragedy, and on the surface it can feel like one. But Jung saw something else entirely. He saw that the orphan archetype carries within it an extraordinary gift. It forces self-reliance. It demands inner authority. It strips away every false crutch until the only thing left standing is you, the real you, without masks, without dependencies, without the safety net of borrowed belief. Think about it. Every person you admire who built something real from nothing, who overcame impossible circumstances, who changed the trajectory of their entire life, they all went through an orphan stage, a period where no one believed in them, where they had to find within themselves what the world refused to give. And they didn't just survive it. They were forged by it. That's where you are right now. You were in the orphan's crucible, and it feels terrible. It feels unfair. It feels like the universe made a mistake, but it didn't. This is not a detour. This is the path. And the strength you're building in this phase, the self-knowledge, the inner fire, the ability to keep going when every external signal says stop, this is the foundation of everything that comes next. Jung said, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And this is your choosing moment. Not when the crowd shows up. Not when someone finally says, I believe in you. Now, right here, in the quiet, in the dark, in the alone, And there's one more thing I want to share with you before we reach the end. And it's perhaps the most important thing of all. Jung spent his life studying the process of individuation, becoming the most complete, authentic, integrated version of yourself. And he noticed a pattern that appeared over and over again across cultures, across centuries, across every human life that dared to grow. The pattern is this: before you rise, you will be tested. Before you find your people, you will walk alone. Before you discover your truth, everything false will fall away, and it will feel in the moment like you are losing everything. But you are not losing. You are being cleared of relationships that kept you small, cleared of beliefs that were never yours to begin with, cleared of identities that were built on other people's expectations instead of your own essence. This is not destruction. This is preparation. And when it's over, when you've passed through this fire, you won't need anyone to believe in you, because you will believe in yourself with a certainty that no external voice could ever shake. Not because you've become arrogant, but because you've touched something inside yourself that is deeper than any opinion, any approval, any outside judgment. Jung called it the self, the center of the whole personality, the part of you that has always known who you are, even when you forgot. And here's what happens when you finally trust that self. You stop chasing. You stop performing. You stop begging for a seat at tables that were never meant for you. And instead, you build your own table, quietly, steadily, with your own hands. And the people who are meant to sit there with you, they will find you. Not because you shouted, but because something in your presence became undeniable. So, if you're watching this right now and you feel like no one is on your side, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing, because the world hasn't caught up to what you see. You are in the most sacred and necessary part of your journey. The part where you stop borrowing strength from others and discover that you had it within you all along. Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awake." You are waking up, and I know it hurts. I know it's lonely. I know there are nights when you question everything, but you are on the right path. The very fact that you're still here, still listening, still searching for answers, still refusing to let that inner flame go out, that tells me everything I need to know about where you're headed. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for applause. Don't wait for the world to understand what you're building before you build it. Start now. Start alone if you have to. Start afraid. Start unsupported. Because the people who change their lives, truly change them, are not the ones who had everyone behind them from the beginning. They're the ones who kept going when no one was. And that, according to everything Carl Jung ever taught, is not a disadvantage. That is the making of a person who is truly, deeply, unshakably awake. If this spoke to something inside you, share it with someone who needs to hear it right now, someone who feels alone on their path. And subscribe if you haven't already, because we go deep here and there is so much more to explore together. Take care of yourself. And remember, your soul already knows the way. All you have to do is trust it.